Hey guys, welcome back to the Fool Show. Of course, I am Foolish Phil. Today, the Big Ten announced their 2024-2025 football conference schedule, and I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts about that. I think the Big Ten did a couple interesting things. The first thing, the positives, I would have to say I really appreciate how they're having it so that I believe every Big Ten team will play USC and UCLA in the first 2 years. Now, some of those teams will probably have to play them twice, like once each year, 2024, 2025. But I think it's great that you have every team will play them once. So you get to see them, these new shiny toys, if you will. It will be on your TV screens. Your team will play the new conference opponents. And I think that's really smart that way. Another thing I think is really smart, is that they got rid of divisions. Since I can remember, I think it might have been every year almost, the Big Ten East and the Big Ten West, well, especially the last 7 years, probably going further back than that, has been owned by the Big Ten East, just destroying the Big Ten West in the championship game. And I know. So I'm just glad about that. The Big Ten is going to go to the top 2 team system like what the Big Ten would do. The Big 12 would do. So now the Big Ten's copying that mode. And yes, you might have a situation where you could have Michigan, Ohio State in the game, and just imagine it was this past year, where it was 11-0 versus 11-0, then you would have had 12-0 versus 11-1. Could have happened the next week, and that is true. And I don't know how I would feel about that when it happens. We'll see, right? I don't know if, there was some talk about, did Michigan want to play Ohio State again in the college football playoff or not? And I don't know. It didn't happen, so it was irrelevant. But the question becomes, does it diminish the game because of that? One thing that the Big 12 did very smartly with that, when they used that system, the two powers, Oklahoma and Texas, they played each other in, I think it's like the first weekend or somewhere in October. So they still have like 6-8 games after that, so they had plenty of time. The teams were not the same if they played each other again. And of course, it would be at a neutral field. The title game would be in Indianapolis unless they start rotating that around a little bit more. But so it would not be in Ann Arbor, it would not be in Columbus, the rematch, if you will. So it'd be interesting that way. They had that possibility years ago when they did their first major expansion in the early 2010s when there was the leaders and the legends, I believe, divisions, and Michigan and Ohio State never played each other in those years. So we'll see how it goes. Another thing that I want to just focus on Michigan's schedule. I want to hold off on that one thing. One thing I did find confusing was the Big Ten did an interesting tweak where teams have protected rivalries. But not every team has them. Michigan has a protected rivalry. Every year they will play Michigan State and Ohio State. Okay? And Iowa, I believe, is actually playing 3 protected rivalries every year. The same, 3 teams every year. But Penn State has none. I'm really surprised that Ohio State and Penn State aren't a protected rivalry. Now, again, maybe the ADs of OSU and PSU said, no, we're good, okay. But I honestly thought that outside of the game, Penn State, Ohio State is like the second best game in the whole Big Ten. So I was kind of disappointed that they didn't have that as a protected rivalry. So if it's not a protected rivalry, the schedule shapes up this way, where you will play the other team once every 2 years instead of once a year. So on the positive side of that, Michigan will get to play Minnesota more for the Little Brown Jug. Michigan will play Northwestern for that trophy. I can't remember the name of it, but they just created a trophy a couple years back. And it's kind of disappointing when you don't play a team for years and years and years. It was a joke back then that Michigan played Florida in the bowl games more than they played their Big Ten opponents because the schedule was so bad. Now, let's just focus a little bit on Michigan's schedule. Michigan is having a gauntlet of a schedule just for terms of it. It's going to be a tough schedule. It's going to be high viewership games. 2024, Michigan's going to have Texas in the preseason games, the non-conference, And then they're going to have home games versus Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, UCLA, and Wisconsin. Road games against Illinois, Ohio State, Rutgers, and USC. So Michigan gets the two new bloods in the first year. Then in 25, they again have Ohio State, Maryland, and Michigan State. Just switch them. Then you have Northwestern. Penn State comes back in. You play them once every 2 years now. Purdue, Indiana, Iowa, and Nebraska. Okay? So, I mean, overall, Michigan's going to have a tough schedule, and I think that's okay. The Big Ten is tough. It's supposed to be tough. If you're making these super conferences, you don't want to have Cupcake Central. Don't get me wrong, but Michigan's doing the right thing by playing cupcakes in the early season. I know you want to have like a Notre Dame in there. You want to have a Division I quality opponent. But when you only have a 4-team playoff, getting that loss, if you lose, really hurts your chances because no 2-loss team has ever made the college football playoff. None. So why are you going to go off and play teams you might lose to? Play Cupcake Central, get your players rest, get extra reps for your younger guys. I think it makes so much more sense to play cupcakes instead of a tough game. Michigan sells out anyways, and they're a TV draw. I remember last year, opening game versus, I can't remember what team it was, a cupcake game, and Michigan was like on Fox Big Noon Saturday, the first game of the regular season, not the early weekend. It had like the highest ratings of the weekend. Or one of them, probably not the highest, but it was a great draw because it was Michigan, and people were going to watch. So, you don't have to worry about scheduling tough games, but now we come to 2024, and CBS, NBC, Fox did not just give out tons and tons of money in a new contract to show East Carolina and Fresno States or whatever, the cupcakes, you know what I mean? So, yeah, now, 2024, now let's throw in play Texas. Now the next year play Oklahoma. Fine. Why? Because it's going to be a 12-team playoff. If Michigan plays Texas, USC, UCLA, Wisconsin, MSU, OSU, and the regular games besides that, 2024, and they lose 2 of those games, go 10-2 during that schedule, they'll be in the playoffs no problem anyways. Once you have a little bit more grace with losses, you can schedule tougher games. Just think of college basketball. College basketball early season tournaments are littered with good matchups. Why? It gets your team on TV, and it doesn't hurt you, right? It'd almost be like, no team gets into the NCAA tournament with, if you have 7 or whatever, let's just say 10 losses, you're out. No team ever makes it in. Well, then you're not going to play tough teams that you might lose to. Same thing here. Now that penalty should be gone with a 12-team playoff, play some quality opponents in the non-conference schedule. So, I think that's definitely more exciting as a fan, don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to seeing Michigan host Texas and then play Oklahoma. That's going to be great. But I also see the thing like, you know what, I want Michigan to get to the college football playoff. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be not worn down. Don't get me wrong, but if we have if Michigan had a healthy Blake Corum in the college football playoff, I think there's a better chance they win than not having him. And why he got hurt against Illinois, right? Especially running backs, you get worn down, you get hurt every year. Running backs have gotten hurt the last 2 years here, right? So Haskins and Corum and Edwards have all been hurt. And 2 years ago and last year, Edwards and Corum were hurt again. So, you play as many cupcake games as you can so your guys can get some rest and avoid injury. Hey, just my foolish thoughts. The schedule is out. I am very pleased with what the Big Ten did. Some question marks. Again, I love how every team will play every other team once every 2 years. And I love what they're doing with the new USC, UCLA coming in. Get them, showcase them. So overall, I think this is a job well done by the Big Ten. So kudos. Hey guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think about the Big Ten? What do you think about what Michigan got as their schedule, their protected rivalries, Michigan State, Ohio State? Do you think that every team should have protected rivalries, or is it fine that a few people have them and others don't? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and until I see you next time, as always, go blue.